The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by NYRA Bets. Bet the Kentucky Derby by using the code SGPN25 for $25 free bet plus a $200 deposit match bonus at nyrabets.com/SGPN25 and start winning today. And welcome everybody to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently time to get into the only game on the card. Lonte, remember when we had like 4 games in one day? Those are long gone at this point. We don't have many series that are still going on right now, but it is time to get into the only game on the Friday card for May 2nd, and it is going to be Game 6 between the Warriors and the Rockets. I'm Road Episode Scott Reichel, joining by Lonte Smith, and together once again we're going to see if we can get 2 Game 7s. We got one yesterday, so definitely nice to get at least one. Probably should have had 2, but I'll get into that in a second. Lonte, how's it going with you? How'd you enjoy the games yesterday?
Man, pretty good. I enjoyed it. Bittersweet that you talked about at the top is just, man, breaking down 15 to 16 games in a day versus just one now. Kind of lighten the load for us, like work-wise, but seeing the season go and know it's, inching closer to June for the finals is bittersweet. But enjoy the games. Looking forward to the game tonight.
Yeah, should be fun. Of course, there is also going to be a game on Saturday, which is going to be the Game 7 between the Clippers and the Nuggets. But if you were wondering when the next round does actually start, the Cavs play the Pacers on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So the next round does start on Sunday, if you were wondering. Either way, though, point is time to recap what happened in the games yesterday. Starting off with the first game, you had a team that got eliminated. It was the Pistons, who once again punted away another late fourth quarter lead. Brunson put Thompson on skates and hit the game-winning shot there with like 3 seconds to go. And then Beasley ended up dropping the ball as the Pistons lost the game. I'll ask you where to start because that was an all-time entertaining series.
Yeah.
I would make the argument that both coaches did not look good at all throughout the entire series, but the Knicks survived. Brunson had himself a monster once again, fourth quarter in a bunch of these games, and he carried the Knicks to a win. It was the classic Thibodeau move, which is, Brunson, please help us. I'm not drawing up a play. And Brunson did enough to help them win. But damn, the Pistons punted the game away again.
Yeah,
the Knicks were blowing the Pistons out on 2 separate occasions.
Yep.
Pistons came back twice, actually took a lead. I think they were up 6
at
one point, and then they fell apart. So I'll ask you, anything else you want to add there? Because Brunson, Mr. Clutch Player of the Year, was Clutch Player of the Year again. And I think the most shocking thing about that entire situation was how Bickerstaff just left Thompson on an island.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you what your thoughts were on that game.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Just if you want to revert back to the down the stretch, they were horrible down the stretch. I thought JB made a big mistake. He actually took Thompson out of the game and put Dennis in, which kind of ignited that run for Brunson, where he scored. I think he scored 5 straight. He got the and one, and then he got the circus shot where he almost fell. I mean, no discredit to Dennis, but I feel like at that time you kind of got them on the ropes, and I think it was 4 minutes left, and he didn't bring them back to 2 minutes left, and they went on that run to cut it to and Darren actually missed the free throw and he split a free throw set to kind of put the game a little bit further away. But yeah, I mean, I think JB did a disservice to Asar, putting him on the island. I mean, he's not, even if I would rather somebody else beat it. Show me somebody else can beat us.
That was the only guy the Knicks wanted to shoot the ball.
Literally, he's on an island by himself. Everybody's flattened out, so it's no way. I'm sending help immediately on the catch. As soon as he catches it off the inbound, I'm sending help and making him get the ball up and making him swing and make a decision. So I thought he did. Excuse me. I thought he did a disservice to Asar, who played extremely well. I remember he got that strip of Jalen, which was a shot clock violation, and then he immediately goes out. And I didn't understand the logic. He only played 22 minutes. He wasn't in foul trouble. So
some people theorize that they were trying to do a defense-offense thing.
No,
but I don't even know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't
because Asar wasn't that bad offensively, because at least he'll give you good offensive rebounding. Yeah. And it can also give you some backdoor cutting. So at least it gives you something there too. But I mean, I thought Bickerstaff was bad for basically the entire series. Thibodeau was not good, but it was a war of attrition. And I thought that with more talent, Tibbs could get away with more. And he did. So I'll ask you, though, because the Pistons season's over. Of course, it was a successful season based on where they were last year. I'm sure there's a bit of a bittersweet moment here because the Pistons still can't win a home playoff game. 0-3 at home, which is insane. LCA was not more lit than MSG. Malik Beasley found that out the hard way yesterday. But I'm just going to ask you, what do you think the next step is for this team, either with roster building, either with, I'm not going to say coaching changes because they're not going to fire Bickerstaff after that phenomenal regular season. But what do you think is the next move? Is it just getting Ivy back? Is it trying to get another, for example, like small forward or somebody? Because I thought Tobias is actually okay.
Yeah, Tobias was good. Yeah, I mean, I think they're in an interesting. I think they're in an interesting space here because you're going to bring Ivy back, who was playing extremely well before that horrible incident, and I actually saw him actually like practicing and doing some stuff, which is encouraging for him. So, I mean, I think they're probably just going to run it back again. I would like to see them upgraded at the 2 spot. And Tim Hardaway is a decent player, but again, if you can get a little bit better there, and Ivy can be that second ball handler, the secondary ball handler to Cade, which takes a lot of pressure off of him. And I think you saw him wear down a little bit because he was playing defensively as well. So, I would like to see them kind of go with another secondary ball handler, somebody low maintenance to come off the bench, because I'm assuming you're going to have to, string Ivy along a little bit slower than usual to kind of let him get his trust back in that leg. So I would try to get a 2-guard spot. I mean, I think they're fine. I think Beasley was fine. I think Tobias was fine. Maybe a backup big for Duren, maybe a scoring big, because Duren.
I mean, they have Stewart, who was just injured for like half the games in the series. I don't know if you think he's good enough anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if he's good enough. I think he's on the same level as just being a low maintenance backup. Maybe a good option, like third option, but I think you need somebody in that 5 spot that can score a little bit. I mean, Paul Reed actually gave him some decent minutes as well. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the team, similar to what OKC. I think we asked questions about OKC as well. Obviously, they're not as talented as OKC, but similar trajectory with the young players that they have, with a blend of veteran players. So I'll be interested to see what they do. They got to make a decision on. I guess. I mean, I know Holland's young, but not sure if he's right for this specific team, especially if you're going to trust in Asar to ascend and be better, which I think he will be. I think he's shown that year over year. Mm-hmm. But I would probably try to upgrade that backcourt a little bit. I don't know if you want to move on from Hardaway or kind of keep him around, because Ivy's obviously going to cut into his minutes. And I also would like to see him get a big man, like a scoring big, somebody who can score a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that kind of jumped off the page, I know that he had a good game yesterday, but I feel like Duren needs to work on some post moves or something. I know the post game isn't exactly something that's that popular anymore, but he's basically only there to catch lobs or to get put back dunks, and he has no real offensive talent.
Now he had Lakers, baby.
I was going to say, he had a couple of nice, big shots down the stretch, mainly because the Knicks just forgot to guard him. But the point is, I do think at the end of the day, the Pistons could use all of the offensive scoring depth they can possibly muster. And I do think having a center that could actually maybe you go to in an isolation situation might actually help, at least give you more variety. And they just didn't have that. It feels like Duren, who I know can set good screens, but he can't really shoot a jump shot. And he was good at the free throw line last night. That's usually kind of an up and down aspect of his game. Unless he's right by the rim wide open, he's just not going to shoot. And that does kind of limit what your offensive upside is going to be when you're using him and Asar. And both guys are not exactly known for their shooting ability. So based on that, you mentioned Holland, who I don't think he played yesterday. Did he play yesterday? I don't think he played. So they kind of scrapped that, which I agree with. But I do think at the end of the day, when I'm looking at this Pistons roster, they definitely aren't good enough to win the East unless they make a big splash move. And I'm trying to think of like which player you would try to go for, because the main, I think, issue for this team, as I said a second ago, was the offensive depth or the lack thereof. I just feel like Cade had to generate a ton for this offense. And yes, I know Ivy can be a solid, basically de facto point guard, either in a bench role or just a sixth man who could actually, create his own shot. You think Ivy should start, though? I was wondering if you think Ivy might be better suited for being a potential like bench player, sixth man type.
No, I think he can start. I think he can eliminate some of that ball handling duties. He's shown it to be. I mean, even at Purdue, he was a combo guard. He played a lot on the ball. He played a lot off the ball. I think with Cade, they work similarly to how they're able to attack the paint. Ivy needs to obviously improve his jump shot, but I thought he was ascending before he got hurt. He's really good defensively. Let me ask you, what do you think about Zion to the Pistons?
I mean, Zion is definitely tricky because one, you never know how healthy he's actually going to be. Two, you don't know how much he actually loves the sport of basketball. But when he plays, he's really good. Now, if you think Detroit can get him without giving up that much, I'm curious what New Orleans expects for a trade package from Zion, because you fired the GM, so the new GM might not like him at all. We'll see what happens. They might
keeping Willie Green.
He's never healthy. He's getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
I am wondering if you think Zion will be treated as basically damaged goods, and you think that there's a way you can get Zion for what's a relatively reasonable trade package. I think Zion makes a lot of sense. The problem is how many non-shooters you'd have on the floor at the same time. Because you said before, Ivy's not the best outside shooter.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. Asar can't shoot at all. We know that. Duren can't shoot at all. And you throw in Zion in there, and I just feel like you have no floor spacing whatsoever.
Yeah,
so that's the issue you run into. You might be able to work Zion out if you use Beasley in the starting lineup and you end up moving maybe Ivy to the bench. I understand where you're going with a Zion, because he would give you the 20-plus points per game you need for this team, but it comes down to spacing.
Yeah.
And it also comes down to health, and if you want to jump in and take the risk in the Zion basket. I can understand that move depending on what the Pelicans realistically want for him, but it's really the lack of floor spacing with the current core they have that I think would be a problem. Because if you have Duren, who's going to set screens and he can't really shoot at all outside of 4 feet, he's going to clog up the middle for Zion. So I feel like, once again, maybe Duren's in that trade. I don't know what you'd exactly do. I like Duren. I think he's solid, but he also does have a pretty glaring issue in his offensive game. I understand where you're going with this, but I think Detroit, kind of touch on what you said, I think they need another 20-point per game score. Maybe you think Ivy's that guy. I'm not sure if he's a 20-point per game score. I think Ivy's more of like a 15, 16-point per game score.
Yeah,
I think they could use another solid offensive player. And Zion does check that box, but I wonder about the spacing.
Yeah, what about Miles Bridges? You like Miles Bridges?
Bridges, it's tough to evaluate because he has never been on a good team since Michigan State, which is definitely a bit of a problem there. Because Bridges, I think he gives you some outside shooting. He's also very streaky, Bridges, and I do think his shot selection can be questionable at times. But it's tough to evaluate because Charlotte's a free-for-all. Nobody's actually trying to play winning basketball in Charlotte, so I don't know if that actually matters. It makes sense. He's from the area, of course, because he went to Michigan State. I think he would make sense if you trust the outside shooting enough, which he can give you. Do you think Miles Bridges is an upgrade over Tobias Harris?
I mean, I think you keep Tobias Harris. I think he is better than Tobias Harris.
Well, I'm saying, so you'd want to use both of them, small forward, power forward combo, or you would pick Bridges to be in the starting lineup and you maybe bring Harris off the bench?
No, I would want both of them to start. If you want spacing, Tobias can shoot it. Bridges can shoot it a little bit too. I think he'll be a little bit better suited in this specific line. I mean, obviously he's not going to have the freedom like he does in Charlotte, but I think he's able to come in and play well there.
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I feel like, once again, we're talking about the Pistons and needing one guy, and that's kind of what I think is the main issue with this team. Not to mention the fact that Bickerstaff, based on basically 2 series, or if you want to go for 4 series, including Cleveland last year, even though everyone got injured, he really has not done well in the playoffs, at least looking at his adjustments or lack thereof. I feel like he's been out-coached in every series he's been in. That could be an issue long-term. You could argue that, once again, you're looking at Bickerstaff as a floor raiser, but kind of a ceiling lowerer. Is that a word? I think it should be a word, but you get what I'm trying to say. I think Bridges makes sense, but you get what I'm trying to say, is that it feels like offensively right now they don't have that many options, and that's going to be always limiting their upside until they increase the amount of guys that can actually create their own shot. Because in that entire playoff series, Beasley's coming around screens. I don't know if that counts as creating your own shot. They had basically 1.5 guys, because Schroeder occasionally would be able to create his own shot. The shot selection was a bit questionable. Same with Tobias, but it's really Cade. And that was it. And that was the main problem they had, because you had Cat, you had Brunson, even Bridges was great in the closeout game. They just had more options offensively, and that was why the Pistons lost, in my opinion. But anything else you want to add for that, or should we move on to the other game that happened yesterday?
No, we can move on.
Cool. So there was one Game 7 that was forced, even though the Pistons really should have forced a Game 7, but whatever. The Clippers forced Game 7, beating the Nuggets, and for this one, the main story, Harden played very well in an elimination game. I thought he was great. Kawhi was very good too. Joker, though, was horrible in the second half. He only scored 5 points. He seemed to make bad decisions all night. Westbrook missed a couple of layups and a dunk in that game. I don't want to say they would have won the game, but that missed layup when they were down 6 in like the final minute and a half was just awful. And that was definitely the highlight that was going around social media. Westbrook was making a reappearance on social media. But I'll ask you for the game because the Clippers won. Did not cover, though. Shout out to the Nuggets. They ended up covering. But I do want to ask you for this game. I know you picked the Clippers to win the game. I was skeptical just based on how the series was, I'd say, trending. For the game itself, was there anything the Clippers did that you think surprised you or anything that you think they're going to do again in Game 7 that can get them the win? I do think it was a very nice performance by the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
The Nuggets had some chances, though, to get back into the game, and it felt like they were just always a step behind. But just asking you about the game itself, just what were your takeaways?
Yeah, I think he made the two big adjustments that he needed to be made. No Chris Dunn, no Ben Simmons, of course, even though he's playing spot minutes. He forced them to defend. He forced Denver to defend in space with Batum, and even though Batum didn't, I mean, he had a couple.
He was so good though. Like defensively, he's been good all series.
Yeah, but the threat of him being out there versus Chris Dunn is you're clogging up the lane.
Yeah.
So where you saw in that second quarter where he was on the floor with Harden was able to attack that pick and roll because it was the threat of Batum in one corner, Powell in the other corner, and then you got Kawhi, you got Zubac in the dunker. So or setting screen. So you got all of these dynamics that play a bigger part versus when that's Chris Dunn, you're kind of just helping off of him. So I thought he made that adjustment. Bogdanovich was battling. He still hasn't been good, but
he's trying his ass off.
His effort has been there. I think the shots he's getting are fine. He's just not making them. And I think if you believe in that effort and the law of averages, he's going to make a lot more in this specific game if he's given those same opportunities. I mean, credit to Harden. He was unbelievable in this game, unbelievable in that second quarter. So credit to him. I thought the Clippers just saw the sense of urgency. Denver didn't particularly play bad, but they didn't play well.
I thought it was mostly Jokic, who I thought just had an off game.
Yeah, they played well to like if this was like a game like 3 loss or a game 2 loss. But for a closeout game, they didn't play with enough intensity, didn't play with enough urgency. And they still were right there, which goes to show you just how good of a job that Adam has been doing with this team. And Joker only scoring 5 points in the second half. I don't think it's really concerning because he was exerting a lot of effort in that first quarter just to kind of keep pace with what they were doing. So, I mean, overall, I thought the game played out similar to what I expected. I thought the Clippers would be a little bit better overall. But, I mean, you can't argue with the performance that Harden had. Kawhi was great. Another 10-rebound game. He was efficient. He was attacking whenever he needed to. He was a lot more aggressive overall and not just in specific spots. So I thought that they showed a sense of urgency, but that Batum move going forward, I think is going to benefit them in Game 7.
Yeah, the main issue was floor spacing because Dunn had a very solid offensive game actually in the last game they lost, but at the same point, that's not reliable. And you're allowing your opponents to basically load up, block Harden from driving to the rim, and at that point, you're daring Dunn to shoot, and I'm sure the Nuggets would be thrilled if Dunn ended up taking 7 outside jumpers in a game. So, yeah, that seemed to be the main adjustment. Batum's been very good all series, both ends too. He's just been very solid when it comes to the either rim protection, underrated shot block, or had a big block against Westbrook at the end of the game. You're looking at the three-point shooting. We know that he can definitely hit some shots there too, and the passing has been solid. So, point is, I thought Joker had an off game. Nice job by the Nuggets, honestly, to get back into the game. They were down 15 with like 6 to go, and he thought it was just over, and they cut it to like basically 6. I might have been 4 at one point, but the point is they made the game more competitive than I thought it was going to be down the stretch, and then eventually the Clippers made enough plays. Kawhi was solid, so was Harden, and you saw the 2 star players for the Clippers show up, which is something we've been asking for because you need both guys to show up. Harden, thankfully, after that really bad game in Game 5, came back in Game 6 and played well. Will he play well in Game 7? I don't know. That's the beauty of it. We don't know. But I do want to ask you just the last point I'll make for this game because I feel like we kind of touched on everything. Who do you think has more pressure? Denver, who lost Game 7 at home last year, trying not to do the same thing the second year in a row, or is it the Clippers because of Harden and Kawhi's so far numbers with the Clippers being underwhelming and mostly Harden being viewed as a playoff choker? Who has more pressure in Game 7?
That's a great question. I would say equally. I think it's equally. I would maybe slightly go with Denver because this is the Clippers' first time around fully healthy. So Granted, I mean, they're not going to get a pass.
Well,
but
it's more about expectations too, though, because you were
yeah,
surging in the season, and Harden's clock is ticking. Actually,
yeah,
potentially win a title. That's why I
yeah,
was
that's fair.
wondering, because
That's fair.
I
That's
would
fair.
normally say the Clippers, but the fact that the Nuggets lost Game 7 at home last year does kind of throw a wrinkle into things. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm kind of
yeah,
wondering.
and then you can flip it on the Nugget side and say, hey, fired our coach. Our third best player is basically his shoulders falling off. His shoulders falling off. We didn't have Russ in one game. Like, you can point to all these dynamics versus the Clippers don't have as many excuses. But they do have. This is the first time these group of guys have been in this playoff setting together without Kawhi being hurt. And I mean, I'm just glad that Kawhi was able to play a full 6 games, and hopefully he can continue to going forward. But I mean, the series price was about what you would expect. I think Denver opened as a favorite, and then it flipped to the Clippers. So I think it's played out exactly how the numbers suggest. And I mean, I think it would be. I think it's about the same amount of pressure on each. I mean, maybe give us slightly to the Clippers, like you said, because of expectation. But I mean, I can. If you want to argue Denver, like, I couldn't really talk you off it. So I guess I'm kind of torn between the two. It's a great question.
I understand what JT's saying about how Joker's, of course, multiple-time MVP. Pressure should be on Denver, but I disagree. I think it's on the Clippers because of the fact that Denver scrapped. The GM got fired. The coach got fired. So the Nuggets went into this series basically saying, look, we don't like how our season's going. We might be screwed. And the Clippers, of course, had expectations. They were peaking at the right time. It's also Ty Lue, and there's a bit more cohesion there. You don't even have the injury excuse anymore. Because Kawhi's actually playing. Harden's playing. You have no injuries that are worth talking about. I think it's the Clippers. Because Denver, you could always look back on and say, well, they fired their coach. They know that they didn't exactly have it. There are some excuses built in already.
A bunch.
The Clippers have nothing. So I think it is the Clippers if I had to go with the two, but I think there's pressure on both. Wanted to mention it, though. That game will be taking place on Saturday. Anyway, before we get into the only game on the Friday card, a reminder that you can show support for SGPN by subscribing to the YouTube channels, not just the NBA show, but the MLB show, the college experience. We all upload videos on YouTube. So once again, please subscribe to those channels to help each channel grow. Plus, a reminder, you can also leave a rating and review on Spotify, 5 stars on each of those shows individually. A reminder, they're brought to you by EdgeBoost, the first ever bank account for bettors. You can also ensure that all your gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimum balance, earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN, deposit $25 in EdgeBoost match deposit, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by NYRA Bets because the Kentucky Derby is actually tomorrow. And you can definitely look for the horse racing picks from the Horse Racing Podcast and Tori's OTB. And you can also look at getting in on the action for the most exciting 2 minutes in sports with NYRA Bets. Sign up today. Boost your Derby bankroll with a $25 free bet and $200 deposit bonus with promo code SGPN25. Join now, claim a $25 free bet and $200 deposit match bonus at nyrabets.com/SGPN25. We're also brought to you by MyBookie.ag because at the book to every sport, they have the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. They also have MLB, UFC, you name it. Point is, though, you can also get in on the action from a ton of locations. They props in every game. They are available in a ton of locations. You can also use crypto for Lightning Fast payouts deposits. Head to MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Podcast. Finish recapping what happened on Thursday. Time to move on into the games for Friday, or the game for Friday. You have the Rockets taking on the Warriors. Rockets won by what felt like 90 in the last game to force a Game 6. Warriors, though, go back home. They're favored by 5.5. The over-under's at 206.5. For the injury report, as far as I know, everyone's healthy. Landell and Tate are out for Houston. We saw Kuminga miss the last game with an illness. Apparently, he's fine now, not listed at all. Golden State, we've seen before, punt closeout games on the road, and they came back out and they ended up winning the closeout game against Memphis, for example, en route to a title. Warriors, though, laying 5.5. Totals kind of flown. I've seen the total go up about 3 points overnight. I'll ask you, though, for this game, because Houston could arguably be winning this series right now if they didn't blow a game or two late. But they had their best game of the series last time out. Golden State pulled everyone early. I'll ask you, though, are you picking Golden State to end the series? Are you picking Houston to force a Game 7? And in other words, are you picking Houston to cover this relatively large number?
Yeah, so I think I'm going with the Warriors. I think we talked about it on the last show. I laid 5 on the open with the Warriors. I still laid 5.5. But do I want the Rockets to win the game?
We all want a Game 7.
Yeah,
we all want a Game 7. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I just don't think that things are panning out for them how they would have been. I mean, the last game, Game 5, was kind of indicative of what the Warriors like. It's like they punted the game basically. We talked about it in extent. Like they didn't play their best. A lot of that was the Rockets zone. But again, obviously Steve Kerr is going to go back to the drawing board with his coaching staff. They're going to figure out the zone.
That zone gave them so many problems in the first half of last game.
And it forced them into doing things that they didn't want to do. And it forced those guys like Pajinski to hit shots, to Moody to hit shots, for Draymond to hit shots. So I think they're going to lean more into that. And it's just dependent upon how the Rockets work offensively. I think we saw them get out in transition off of those turnovers, off of those rebounds, off of those live rebounds, and actually force the Warriors to play transition defense, which is not their strong suit. I think they're better in the half court defensively. But I'm worried about Jalen Green. Like,
I don't know. The injury part or the bad performance part? Or both?
Both. A little bit of both, but more so just the injury. Because, bro, if you notice at the end of that game, like he was like when they were trying to inbound, he was like over in the corner. Like he couldn't move. He couldn't really move like that. He had a great first quarter, and I thought he was going to have a breakout game. But he after that knee, I think did he bang knees with somebody or did he just fall? I can't remember what it was.
Either way, the point is he might have tweaked something in that knee.
Yeah, and I saw him on the bench, like putting pressure on it and stuff. So I'm kind of worried about that. And if you take away him, who obviously has his ups and downs, but it's just a threat of him being able to beat guys off the dribble. Not the best defender, but he's not horrible. He still competes. So I think him being less than 100% in a must-win game on the road is different. If they were at home, it'd be totally different. But on the road, I think the Warriors make quick work of them in this game. So I like the Warriors pretty big in this one.
Yeah, part of me still thinks this game's going to be close late. I feel like Golden State, even the big games that they've actually won at home, you saw them win Game 3, which was a game where they really just caught fire offensively in the second half. Houston looked like they didn't want to be there. That might be the concern. You still have inexperience, and maybe with the actual environment, we saw it with Detroit yesterday, for example. That was a home game, but you just have a team with an experience against a team with some veteran leadership, and you saw one team fall apart down the stretch. Yeah. You could argue that Houston might have that happen to them in this game, where if the game's close, maybe Golden State gets a shot or two, Curry and Butler go crazy at the end, and you see Houston scrambling to find offense late. But Golden State, we saw blow a 20-point lead at home against Memphis. They came back and they won the game in the play-in, but I think Golden State, maybe it's just the lack of consistent focus for this team. I think they're going to let Houston hang around. I'm not saying Houston's going to cover. I think Houston keeps this game close, though, especially if Van Vliet keeps shooting that well. Van Vliet's been incredible for the last couple games. I'm going to go Warriors 1-10 in this game. I think it's close. I understand if Golden State's going to be up by 15 at one point, and then you end up looking at a potential comeback attempt to fall short for Houston. I see this game being close, though. Yes, there's definitely a path where Golden State could have run them out of the building. I don't think that's going to happen because of Houston's defense. I just think the defense is too good to get blown out in this game because they're forcing Curry to work for it, whether you want to agree with Dillon Brooks or not about the finger injury, whatever stuff. You know what I'm trying to say.
It looked bad, though, bro. It looked bad. It looked bad.
It did. The point is, though, Curry's fingers messed up. And look, Dillon Brooks said the quiet part out loud. People also want to hate on Brooks because he's a dirty player, an instigator, whatever you want to call it. The point is, though, if Curry does have an off game, they're going to have a hard time winning by margin. You're looking at Butler, who is still battling an injury as well, and he's trying to hang in there. But I do think Houston has the depth and the physicality, depending on how the game's officiated, to keep this game very close. They could potentially win this game. I'm not saying Houston has a 0% chance of winning. I think Golden State will win in this environment because they've been there before. But I see a pretty similar game to the Pistons game yesterday. Comes down to the wire. I think that it might come down to one possession. Maybe you see the Rockets turn over late and miss a shot late. I think Golden State wins. But I do think Houston can actually cover this. So I'll go with Golden State 1-10. Are you picking Golden State in a rout, or are you just picking Golden State to win? You think it could be a rout?
No, I think so. Let's see. I guess by route, I mean, I think they can, because you can still be a little bit competitive.
I'll say like 10 plus points.
Yeah. I think they can win by like 10 to 12.
Are you picking them to do that, or are you just?
Yeah. I think they will. I think the Rockets will obviously be competitive, but in the end, depending on how healthy I came into the game wanting to bet the Rockets, but just seeing how Jalen Green was like hobbling and how Fred VanVleet is gonna have, like, if you have to depend on Fred VanVleet to hit 5-6 threes, I'm not sure that's the best recipe for it.
And you're not expecting Brooks to drop 20-something points.
Absolutely not, because you're going to look for him to just be completely locked in on limiting Jimmy Butler. I would prefer him to score 10 to 11 points and hold Jimmy to a competitive 23, 24 versus him scoring 25, 26, and just, not being as good defensively. So, yeah, I think the Warriors get it done in fashion. And by 10 to 12, I mean, you can be, up. You could be up 7 or 8, and then you get a missed foul, and then you're up 12. So I think that's similar how it's going to go, similar to how it's going to go. So yeah, I'm going with the Warriors to win by double digits here.
Yeah, once again, I'll give the Rockets a fighting chance. I think they're going to lose the game, but I think it'll be close. I think one real aspect of the series, which has definitely worked to Houston's benefit, has been Amon. Amon was extremely, I'd say, shaky to start the series, and he has been fantastic the last couple of games.
Yeah.
So I think Amon's overall athleticism, Golden State really doesn't have anyone who can match him athletically, and I do think that if Amon can get downhill, that's another, I'd say, element of Houston's offense that can be unlocked, and we saw that happen in the last game, not to mention the 5 steals in like 15 minutes in the first half of the last game. But I'm going to go with the Warriors to win with you, but I am going to go with the, once again, 1-10. I think the game's close, but I think Golden State close it out because they've been there before. Anyway, I do want to ask you, because it's only one game, we can go through some props. Are there any guys that you want to target for this game?
Yeah, I love Jimmy. I love Steph. Both. I was going to parlay their points together. You can get plus 260. Steph is 26.5. Jimmy is 22.5. I think both guys have monster games. So similar to what we saw in game 1. Did they go crazy in game 1 of the series? I think so. Yeah, but yeah. So I think they'll go crazy.
Curry hit all those logo 3-pointers, and Butler took over down the stretch.
Yeah. So I think that they have to do here to win by margin. So I think you see a combined 60-ish points from them. So I'm gonna go. That's gonna be like one of my favorite plays, along with the Warriors laying the 5.5.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to do it, whether it involves the knee injury or not. Give me Jalen Green on his under, 18.5 points and assists. It's not personal, but he's been very shaky so far this series. He has an injury now, and he did seem like he was moving a lot slower after the collision with Curry, which caused him to get injured in the first place. He's also been disappearing in every game anyway, besides game 2. So I don't mind fading Jalen Green again. I'll go with the under on his points and assists at 18.5. Houston's offense might give him a couple of looks, but it's mainly going to be relying on Şengün and Van Vliet at this point. So I do think that Jalen Green will have a pretty lackluster game. Give me the under on Jalen Green, 18.5 points and assists. For Şengün, I feel like I have to consider him in some area, but I'm wondering where I should go, because the points have been very inconsistent. It's been solid when Draymond's been in foul trouble, but bad when Draymond's actually in the game. His assists, though, are at 4.5. That feels too low to me. He had 9 last game. He had 5 the game before that, 7 in game 2 of this series. I think Şengün assists is worth something, because I can see Houston giving him the ball, telling him to operate, and then you might be able to find some stuff off of that, whether it involves backdoor cuts, 3-point shooting. Maybe Golden State does end up loading up, and they end up leaving some open shooters. I don't mind Şengün assists at 4.5 at even money. I think that could be an option, too. Curry, I took the points under with, the alt under last game. I'm not going to take it again, but I do think that Curry, if the finger issue is actually a big deal, and if you like how Houston's been guarding him, then that number might be a bit inflated. So I think that would be the argument I'd make. Butler, I question how healthy he actually is. The zone also hurts Butler a lot because he can't shoot. So you might wonder if the zone actually is going to force Butler into a bad offensive game, because it's going to kill what he wants to do, which is driving to the basket, getting into potential free throw territory where you end up getting like 10 free throws and you're able to coast to some free points. The zone defense isn't going to do much for Curry, because Curry, we know, is going to move off ball, get open. But for Butler, it actually does a lot, because it's going to kill a lot of what he wants to do, which is operate in ISO situations. So Butler, I'm a bit skeptical on. Curry, you could argue, will have a solid game. Anybody else you want to look at for this one? Are you going to fade Van Vliet off the heater, or do you think that he's not worth fading because it's too risky?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to fade him, because he's going to have the shot attempts, especially if Green. I like to play with Jalen Green.
I have to. He's been so bad now.
Yeah, I agree.
I have to fade.
Yeah, I agree. So I think you're going to see a high volume of him. I would maybe look at Tari Eason PRA over, because I think he should get a lot more minutes here. He's lengthy in that zone. He can also create off the dribble. Really good at attacking the rim. He can match up physically as well with Jimmy, so that way if Dylan doesn't get in an early foul trouble, he can kind of split time with him. So I think Easton plays a big part in this game. Jabari as well. I think Jabari threes is something good. He's been really good at that kind of 3-and-D mode that they've kind of formed him into. So I like the ancillary pieces for the Rockets more than I do the starters per se. So I guess our favorite would be Tari Easton, PRA. It should be like 15.5.
Let me just see what Easton is, because
Yeah,
I know he didn't do much, I believe, last game.
Yeah, 9-5 or 9-6 or something like that.
That might have been last game then. His PRA for this game is set at 12.5.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that.
He's had at least 14 in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that.
One player I might be tempted by as well, this actually might be a defensive prop I might consider. Thinking about Steven Adams' blocks, actually, but I want to see how he did last game. I know he had 4 blocks 2 games ago. It's at half a block at even money. I'll take a shot on that. Sure, he's going to protect the rim. I think there could be some opportunities there. Half a block at even money, I think, though, is definitely worth pulling the trigger on just for the value, in my opinion. But I do think Adams should play. They're going to need the size. You could argue that with the zone, Adams might be a key piece of that zone, because the main issue you run into with zone defense is rebounding. And Adams wipes away all those concerns with one player. So I would expect to see some zone with Adams in this game. Maybe a block is worth looking at as well. Anything else you want to add for this game?
Man, I've been betting Draymond PRA under every game, and it's been hitting. So
I bet the under on his points last game. I only won because they pulled everyone down 30 in the third quarter.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to bet that as well.
Yeah, and the zone's not going to help Draymond either, because he's going to try to facilitate, but he's not going to shoot. So there we go.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the preview of Game 6 between the Rockets and the Warriors. Now it's time for the lock and dog plays and the underdog entry. Before we get into that, the reminder, they're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. If they want to pick them, they could also use their new game, which is the ladders. Win up to 500 times your money by watching your favorite players climb the ladder. Sign up, though, with the promo code NBASGPN. Go to special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash. Fantasy promo code NBASGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because they're the home of the NBA picks and props. They're also available for the NBA playoffs and the MLB prop market. And you can also look at building your own models. It's very simple and easy to do. You can also try it out for free for a week using the free trial. You can also use some of the amazing deals they have for you. 25% off the monthly subscription with promo code SGPN25. 50% off the annual subscription with promo code SGPN50. That's Rhythm, RATHMN, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Get the 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamepodcast.com/RATHMN. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished previewing the only game on the card for Friday. Now it's time for the lock and dog plays. Lonte, I'll let you go first. What's going to be your lock and dog for Game 6 between the Rockets and the Warriors?
Yeah, I was going to go first quarter again with the Warriors, but paying a little bit of tax. So I'll just lay the 5.5. I think the Warriors are going to come out and play extremely well at home. I think they'll get that zone figured out. They might have to play a little bit more moody in this game just for the shooting threat. I would probably get away from Buddy Hield, kind of too high variance. I would play more Moody. Moody's better defensively as well. So I think they'll figure out that zone, get in the middle of it, kind of force those to collapse, and then you hit the shooters. Pachinski has to have a big game as well. I think all those guys play better at home. So I like the 5.5. I like laying the 5.5 with the home team. I'm going to take Jimmy Butler over 22.5 points and Steph over 26.5 points. You can parlay those together, you'll get plus 260.
Okay. For my lock, I'm going to have to do it. Give me the Jalen Green fade in this game. I'm going to go with a couple props, because I do think that you're looking at a game that could be very, very competitive, but there's also a world where Houston just can't handle the moment. They fall apart.
Absolutely.
So there are a couple ways to look at it. But either way, I think I am going to go with the Jalen Green fade. If I jinx him into playing well, it is what it is. But based on what I've seen this series and now the injury attached to it, I can't back him. You're looking at his assists also not being that great. He had 2 assists in the last game, 1 the game before that. He had 5 in the game before that, but he only had 9 points. Point is, though, he's gone under this number in every game except for game 2 where he went crazy. He's actually gone under this 18.5 points and assists in 7 of the last 8 games he played in, including the end of the regular season. I think that Jalen Green is just a guy who doesn't look wired correctly at this point in time. And I wonder if Houston, with the injuries, are going to go elsewhere. We've seen Şengün have a big role. Then Vliet's had a big role. Even Amon has had a bigger role in creation. They've kind of moved off of Jalen a little bit, which they needed to, because Jalen was being a liability out there. We know that Ime is not afraid of benching him if necessary down the stretch. I'll go with, once again, the Jalen Green under 18.5 points and assists as my lock for the show. For the dog, you know what? I think I am going to go for it. I think Golden State's going to win the game, but I actually think Houston hangs in there. I will give them a certain amount of respect based on their athleticism, based on their depth. I think they have a couple of ways they can bother Golden State. I think it'll be similar to what we saw in Game 4. Houston's right there. They fall short somehow, and they lose a heartbreaker. But for this game, I'll go back to the Golden State 1-10 angle here for the win margin. Golden State 1-10 is plus 182. Think they'll win at home. Won't be easy. Houston loses by, in my opinion, like 5. But I think the game will be close. Give me Golden State 1-10 at plus 182 as my dog.
Let's hope
Now,
6.
But what do you say?
I said let's hope it's 6. So
that's fine with me. They can win by 9. I'll even do you one better. They can win by 10, and I'm fine with them winning by 10.
Cool. That's cool.
But either way, a point is, I do think at the end of the day, it's valuable. So I'll go with that as my play. Anyway, time to move on to the underdog entry. I don't know if you want to just recycle the play I just mentioned with Jalen Green, and we want to just do Curry and Butler points, or if you want.
We can mix it up because I like.
Okay. I say we'll do the Jalen Green points and assists because I have to at least factor in how bad he's been in the series.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I like Jimmy PRA higher.
Okay.
If you want me, Jimmy same player, just different. Yeah, like it's.
That's a 32.5.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. 25, 5, and 5.
Okay. And then, is there anybody else you want to go for the Draymond fit?
Yeah, we can do that. I'm always. Is it 20? Has it gone down? It was 21.5.
It's at 18.5 now.
Yeah.
To be fair, he's still gone under that number in 4 of the 5 games in the series.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we can do that anyway. Yeah. It's fun to watch Draymond not shoot when you have an under PRA. Anyway, so once again, the 3-pick entry for underdog is going to be on Jalen Green lower, 18.5 points and assists. We also are going to go with Jimmy Butler higher, 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And we're going to go with Draymond Green lower, 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Back once again for the game on Saturday. We have Game 7. Shout out to Zaza Pachulia. We have Game 7 going on between the Clippers and the Nuggets. Clippers actually favored in that game, but we'll get into that. Either way, though, point is, anything else you want to add, Lonte, before we end the show?
That's about it, man.
Cool. Sounds good. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your